The River, 97.3 WRVV. That's the Ozark Mountain Daredevils with Jackie Blue. Also Bruce Springsteen with the E Street Band, Dancing in the Dark. And Steely Dan in there with My Old School. It's 11:39. And make sure you're on the river tomorrow night at 11 for this week's Sunday CD. This week it's a 78 classic, or a classic from 78. The self-titled premiere disc from The Cars. And that's a good one. You'll hear the whole thing without interruption coming up Sunday night, tomorrow night at 11 on the river. Let's get back to the rock and roll. It's Mr. The River, 97.3 WRVV. That's the Eagles. Title track off their CD, On the Border. And they're the River Artist of the Month for January, where you can stop by Media Play on Route 22 in Harrisburg all this month and pick up any Eagles CD for $2 off. Also heard Mr. in there with Broken Wings. It's 11:50, 10 away from 12 noon. Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly this afternoon. And music on the way from Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Also Journey and Rod Stewart. And a River Mini concert from John Mellencamp coming up on the river.
For a limited time at McDonald's.
WRVV weather, variably cloudy and windy today with a chance of some flurries and a high today around 30. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 20 and partly sunny tomorrow with a high tomorrow right around 30 or so. And right now 22 in Lancaster, 23 in York, and 23 in Harrisburg. And he's been rocking and rolling since 1979, and we've got him for a River Mini concert. It's the Cougar himself, John Mellencamp on the river. The River, 97.3 WRVV. That's David Clayton Thomas and Blood, Sweat, and Tears from their Grammy-winning album of the year from 1969, and When I Die. Also heard a River Mini concert in there from John Mellencamp with Cherry Bomb, Human Wheels, and a little ditty about Jack and Diane. It's 11 minutes after 12 noon. Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly this afternoon. More music on the way from Peter Frampton, Jethro Tull, and Genesis. Here's some more rock and roll for you. It's Emerson, Lake and Palmer on the river. The River, 97.3 WRVV, kind of gets you right there, doesn't it? That's Steve Perry and Journey from their CD Trial by Fire, When You Love a Woman. Also heard Emerson, Lake and Palmer in there from the beginning. It's 12:20. Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly. Hope you're having a great Saturday afternoon, even though it is a little cold outside. Don't forget, it's a River Mini Concert Weekend being underwritten by Pizza Hut. It's Pizza Hut making it great again and again. And our next mini concert's about a half hour away. This time we're going to hear from the Cars on the river. WRVV weather, variably cloudy and windy today. Chance of some flurries maybe, and a high today around 30. Partly cloudy overnight tonight with a low of 20. And partly sunny again tomorrow with a high near 30. 23 in Lancaster, 24 in York, and 24 in Harrisburg. And it's the best classic rock and the best of today's rock. It's always an amazing variety of rock and roll on the river, 97.3 WRVV. You're on the river, 97.3 WRVV. A little Jethro Tull there with hymn number 43. Also Bonnie Raitt in the Nick of Time, and Peter Frampton comes alive and Show Me the Way. It's 12:35. Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly this afternoon. If you need something to do this weekend, don't forget the Pennsylvania Farm Show is happening. It's open right now at the Farm Show Complex on Cameron Street in Harrisburg. And it's going to be going on until next Thursday, the 16th. Head on out, check out the animals and the rodeos, but go definitely for the food. Haven't tried it myself yet. Might want to do that, and I heard it's real good. Check your paper for specific hours and events. And also tomorrow, the 1997 Winter Tour of World Figure Skating Champions comes into Hershey Park Arena. If you're up for some of that action, it'll feature people like Dorothy Hamill and Brian Boitano. Shows are at 2 and 7 tomorrow afternoon. And if you're up for some ice hockey action, the Hershey Bears are back in town tonight at Hershey Park. They'll take on Rochester. For more information about that, just call me here toll-free at 1-800-724-5959. Let's continue with the rock and roll. It's Genesis on the river. Joni Mitchell on the river, 97.3 WRVV. That's Help Me. Also heard Genesis with a long version of Tonight. It's coming up on 12:50, 10 away from 1 o'clock. I'm Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly. And more music on the way from Buffalo Springfield. Also the Badleys and the Rolling Stones in there. And a River Mini concert from the Cars coming up on the river.
For a
WRVV weather, variably cloudy today and windy with a chance of some flurries at a high around 30. Partly cloudy overnight tonight with a low of 20. And partly sunny tomorrow with a high again near 30. Still 23 in Lancaster, 24 in York and Harrisburg. And we're going to feature one of their CDs tomorrow night in the Sunday CD. But right now we've got them on the river stage for a River Mini concert. It's the Cars on the river. The River, 97.3 WRVV. That's Buffalo Springfield with Stephen Stills, of course. And Rock and Roll Woman. Also heard a River Mini concert from the Cars. Shake It Up, You Might Think. And Tonight She Comes. And it's 6 minutes after 1 o'clock. Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly this afternoon. Have more music on the way by the Doobie Brothers, Pretenders, and Eric Clapton. Here's one from Arlo Guthrie, On the River. Weekends always feel better when you're on the river. 97.3 WRVV. The River, 97.3 WRVV. That's the Rolling Stones from their Let It Bleed CD. And you can't always get what you want. Also heard the Badleys with Fear of Falling, and Arlo Guthrie in there with the city of New Orleans, where just happens to be where they're going to be holding the Super Bowl this year, down in New Orleans. And, of course, it's Green Bay and Carolina tomorrow, and Jacksonville and New England playing for their right to go to the big game. Should be some real good games, too, though. I'd kind of like to see the expansion teams make it, even though they're not really expansion teams. But all I know is I'm just going to enjoy both those games tomorrow and the Super Bowl, because the Cowboys aren't going to be there. That's why I'm going to love this. Also, don't forget, it's a River Mini Concert weekend this weekend, being underwritten by Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's making it great again and again. And our next mini concert's about a half hour away. This time we're going to hear from the Steve Miller Band, On the River. Hi. WRVV weather, variably cloudy and windy today with a chance of some flurries, and a high today around 30. Partly cloudy overnight tonight with a low of 20, and partly sunny tomorrow. A high again right around 30 or so. Right now, 23 in Lancaster, 23 in York, and 23 in Harrisburg with a wind chill below 0. And it's your favorite rock and roll without any hype. It's The River, 97.3 WRVV. The River, 97.3 WRVV. That's Lighthouse from 71 and One Fine Morning. Title track off their CD. Also, Chrissy Hine and the Pretenders, and Don't Get Me Wrong. And the Doobie Brothers in there taking it to the streets. 1:37, Jim Riker in for Norm Kelly. Don't forget to turn us on later on tonight at 11 as Glenn Hamilton will bring you Saturday Night Live. He's got an hour of live tracks recorded at some of the best concerts from all over the world. And tonight will feature music by the Eagles, Bonnie Raitt, and Leonard Skinner. And Glenn's also going to be out at Mally's tonight from 7:30 till 10:30 at Allentown Boulevard in Harrisburg, playing some good acoustic stuff, like the stuff you hear on the river. A little more rock and roll for you. Then he'll be back in here later on tonight for Saturday Night Live, coming up tonight at 11. Let's get back to the rock and roll. It's Eric Clapton, On the River. The River, 97.3 WRVV. It's rock and roll without the hard edge. Joe Walsh, On the River, 97.3 WRVV from his CD, The Smoker You Drink, The Player You Get. Only Joe Walsh can come up with that one. That's Rocky Mountain Way. Also, Eric Clapton, It's in the Way That You Use It. It's 1:47 coming up on 1:50. Time for me to fly. And Jenny Geip is on the way next hour with music from Creedence Clearwater Revival. Also, Toad the Wet Sprocket and Argent. And I've got a River Mini Concert from Steve Miller coming up on the River.
For a limited time, prohibited.
WRVV weather, variably cloudy and windy today with a chance of some flurries, and a high today near 30. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 20, and partly sunny tomorrow. A high again near 30. 25 in Lancaster, 24 in York, and 23 in Harrisburg. And it's a River Mini Concert weekend. Next up on the stage, it's a guy that just loves to play rock and roll. The Steve Miller Band, On the River.